of my earlier videos, I had mentioned that I had been to a few Juneteenth events where I sold out of my historical romance series. I've been getting a lot of feedback from people as a result of those events. A lot of people wanted to know about how I got started writing. I've done some videos about that, but they were a long time ago when I made the videos. So I'm going to do another video, but I'm going to give more details as to how I made my first sale, because I did get a lot of questions about that at the Juneteenth events. People followed me on TikTok, so I thought maybe it's a good time to actually talk about how I made my first sale. I already went over how I started writing, so that was in another video. Just go through my archives to see how I actually started putting pen to paper. But it took me 5 years of writing before I finally landed my first publishing contract with a traditional publisher. The publisher is a publisher that a lot of people are probably not familiar with, because things have changed since I made my first sale. But let me tell you a little bit about what happened. I had been going to writers' conferences, which I still tell new writers to do, or any writer. It's good to congregate with other writers in person because writing is very solitary. I'd been going to writers' conferences for like 5 years, and I had met and connected with a lot of authors. One of those authors was named Tracy Peterson. She's a very good author. She writes historical fiction. One of her colleagues went to her, asked her if she knew of any African-American authors who wanted to write Christian fiction. At the time, there weren't a lot of African-American Christian romance authors. We just didn't exist. She told this person my name, and the person was instrumental in starting the Heart Song Presents line, and that's an old line of romances that no longer exists. It was published by Barber Publishing, but that's not the publisher that published my book, not to confuse you, but that's not what happened. But the person that was instrumental in starting a Christian romance line under Barber Publishing, this man, he actually went to Tracy because he had an idea about doing something with a different publisher. When she shared my name, this person reached out to me, and he said, Tracy gave me your name. She says you're trying to get published, so can you work with me on this project? He told me about the project and what he wanted to do. Of course I'm going to say yes, but what was unique about this contract, the book was only available through book clubs, because back then, this is decades ago, there was no Amazon. Ebooks didn't really exist back then, or if they did, they were in their infancy. But Promises to Keep, this is a 3-book collection. I wrote one of the stories. It's called Someone for Tony. When the book was acquired, it was only available through Black Expressions and Crossings book clubs. And many of you watching this video right now probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But back in the day, and they still might do this now, I haven't researched it because I'm not a member of any book clubs, but Black Expressions and Crossings book clubs, they were part of the Doubleday book clubs, and people would join these book clubs. They would get a catalog every month, and they would get a book of the month. So every month they would get a book automatically emailed to them, snail mailed to them, unless they opted out. They could also pick other books that they wanted from the catalog. These books were snail mailed. And here's the promotional material for the 3-book collection. Like I said, I was one of the books, and it was called Someone for Tony. So this is the 3-book collection. It's all 1 volume, so it's a pretty big, thick book for the 3 books. And if you want to see who published it, the imprint was Cross America Books, Garden City, New York. It's an imprint of Crossings Book Club, and they were owned by the Doubleday book clubs. It was under the umbrella of this really huge company called Bertelsmann. Like, again, I don't know about the hierarchy now because this was decades ago. I haven't really kept up with it. But that's who published my very first book, and mine is the 3rd book, Someone for Tony. Cecilia Dowdy. They misspelled my name. My name is spelled Celia, but they spelled it Cecilia. But it was really nice to get this out. It was only available, like I said, through Crossings and Black Expressions Book Club. So people had to mail order it to get it. So that was my very first sale. I was really excited about it. And to further emphasize what happened after that, decades later, I ended up starting to self-publish books on Amazon as an author. So I took some of the books that were traditionally published, got the rights back, and then self-published them myself. So that book has been out of print because it was never in bookstores. Like I said, it was only available through the book clubs. So what I did, I got the rights back to Someone for Tony. I rewrote it because I was reading it. Really, I'd grown a lot as a writer after I published Someone for Tony, because this is decades later when I decided to publish it again. So I changed the title from Someone for Tony to Shades of Chocolate. I gave it a new cover. I hired a cover artist and developed this cover, and I made it bigger. So this is a lot bigger than the book that was actually published the first time. But I took that book and expanded it, got the rights back, and made it into Shades of Chocolate. So here you go. And then recently, within the past 12 months, I changed the cover again. So this is the old cover, the silhouette, and the new cover, you'll see it up there. That's the cover that I developed myself for Shades of Chocolate. That's the third cover. So you should check it out. That's the story about my very first book. If you want to check out Shades of Chocolate, just check the comments. There's links in the comments if you want to go check it out. Several 5-star ratings and reviews. You'll love it. I really enjoyed writing Shades of Chocolate. It shows how we have to overcome our past in order to accept God and all that He has in store for us. We need to accept God's grace. We need to accept His gift. And sometimes I realize that's hard to do if you've had a tough upbringing, because sometimes you feel like God doesn't love you, but He does. Why do bad things happen? I cannot really tell you why, because it hurts my heart when I see bad things happen. But let me tell you, God's got your back. So you just trust in Him. Hopefully things will work out. And He has offered you the chance of everlasting life. So just give Him a chance. So that's all I had to say. Again, check out Shades of Chocolate. The new cover is up there. And, if you have any questions or comments, leave me a comment, leave me a question. I love interacting with other people on TikTok. So enjoy the rest of your day.